Mr. Julius Yeager is representing that guy that was mentioned here adversely several times, KRA. He is the Chief Manager, Taxpayer Services, Medium, Small, and Micro Enterprises, and Domestic. My name is not Amani. A few will get that one. Makofi for Bwana Julius Yeager. Take a seat. All right, I don't know if he's here, but if he is, please come up on stage, Mr. John Kabwe, who is the Manager Quality Assurance from KEBS. Thank you very much for being here. Are you here, Bwana Kabwe? Oh, fantastic. Please come up on stage, Makofi tafadhali. We have Mr. Victor Olwoch, who is a Manager Financial Analysis and Reporting, and is a member of the Sandbox Review Committee from the Capital Markets Authority. Please, a round of applause for Bwana Victor Olwoch. And the moderator for this is Mr. Kirinya Kithinji. Please come up on stage, Bwana Kirinya. Makofi tafadhali kwake.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right. So on stage, you have representatives from various arms of the government. Gentlemen, it's great to have you on board. One quick round of introduction again, and what you do for the government, and then we can move on from there.
Good afternoon. The way I'm seated, I'll not be able to really be who I am. Yeah, but my name is Julius Yeager, the Chief Manager and Head of Taxpayer Services in Kenya Revenue Authority. I'm a grandfather of 2,
Oh, wow.
a father of 4, and a husband of 1.
Great.
Professionally, I'm a teacher of double mathematics and chemistry. Now, when my senior was here in the morning and he spoke, I felt like removing my coat and hiding under the desk. Because the KRA he was talking about is not the KRA I work in. And I'll explain. The first and most important thing for all of us here to appreciate and understand is that the taxpayer must know his or her obligation. I want us to start from there. That a taxpayer has only got 4 obligations. 4. 1, if you are 18 and above, you must register and therefore be given what we call a PIN certificate. And the individual can be a company, can be a human being. Are we together up to that point? So that's the first thing. So I want to believe that everybody in this house has got a PIN. If you don't have, it will be a big problem because the government is here. And by the way, yours truly is the one in charge of giving pins to all Kenyans and all companies. This is the guy in charge. Second obligation that you have. You must file your returns. Am I talking to the right people? The third one is that you must give KRA full disclosure, accurate information, accurate. Where you live, what you do, ukiama, tell KRA, sasa nimesonga. That is what I mean by full what? Disclosure. The fourth one, which is critical, pay what you've declared. And I want us to appreciate from today that KRA will not come to you to ask you how much you've earned. It is called self-assessment. Yani wewe ndio unakuja kusema mimi, this is the much I've made, and this is the profit I've made, and I'll pay the following taxes. So are we together up to the obligations? Are we together up to that point? What we have done as Kenya Revenue Authority, and this is critical, by the way, you would have given me more time, is that when we realize that when human beings are allowed to interact, did you sanitize this thing? Nitoe hii kitu? You are sure? I'm 57. Now this is how I look like. Did you see me on telly last week? This is the face, this is the guy. Now let me tell you something. When we realize that Kenyans are allowed to interact the way you are in this room, you like making deals. So what did we do as Kenya Revenue Authority? We automated. So that whichever tax you want to pay, haukuji na gunia KRA, it is you paying either through M-Pesa, through your bank account. And we said we have to lessen human interaction with our employees. KRA is the best automated system in this country. You can pay at midnight, you can pay in the morning, under your bed, on top of it, even walking on the street, you can pay. So obligations, good. Very critical again, because this is critical to us. Integrity is so critical to Kenya Revenue Authority. If somebody was to come to you to harass you, saying or claiming that he's a KRA employee, how do you tell that that person is a genuine employee of Kenya Revenue Authority? We have automated that. Take my ID now, Google there. Staff vetting or staff verification. Go to KRA website. If he's a genuine KRA officer, just put on the ID, it will give you a return. This is Julius Yeager, the Chief Manager, Kenya Revenue Authority. That is how accurate it is. Now, because this guy from KEBS is here and waiting, let me say this the last time. In the unlikely event that they have come to you to disturb you, call Kenya Revenue Authority. Or just send an SMS, or put it on our website. Or report to 26th floor of Times Tower. Or kama unaogopa wale sana, send to me. Why am I saying so? I'm the one in charge of taxpayer complaints. I've worked in KRA for 26 years. You can't clap. You know, such a guy, and you see, yeah? And I want to tell you something about that. That nobody, and I believe nobody in this room, can come up and say, this gentleman has come to me to ask for money. I can tell you that one publicly. So those few KRA officers who may be tempted because we know Satan walks around, and he was created for human beings, that's why we have put all those things in place to help you. Now let me talk to the SMEs. I'm also the one in charge of SMEs. So are you getting my point now? Why I was saying that I should have been left alone. A guy like this, you can't mix up with people. But anyway, sorry guys. We have what we call tax heads. Tax what? We have what we call income tax. We have what we call VAT. We have excise. Now, by the time you go to a cyber cafe to register or to look for your PIN, that is if you don't come to KRA or if you don't do it yourself online, they will add you what we call obligations. Tunaelewana up to that point? Now, if you know that you don't qualify for VAT obligation, don't go for it. And that's why KRA is spread all over the country. 41 offices in this country. Kwale, Suba, everywhere. So that you can walk in. Or if you can't walk in, do it online. Because we have challenges with SMEs picking obligations that they can't qualify to do. Last but not least, SMEs did tell us that the kind of tax that KRA wants us to pay are beyond us. We're just starting small. What is it that Kenya Revenue Authority has done to make it easier for the SMEs? When Chair spoke in the morning, I didn't want to say something, but Chair told you that the opportunities that you can get in terms of loan facilities. And there's something else he said, that in the unlikely event that you are not to make profit and you're going under, there are certain institutions that will write off for you the debt. Did I hear that right? How many of you are aware that the Republic of Kenya has got what we call credit guarantee scheme? Credit guarantee scheme. This is hosted in Treasury, where SMEs are supposed to go and ask for money, and in the unlikely event that you are not doing well, part of that will be taken care of by the government. How many are aware of that? The Bible says that my people suffer due to lack of what? Now you have the knowledge here, boozing, coming out so freely. Why don't you clap? Surely I'll stop if you don't.
Very much.
And now let me
Mr.
stop
Julius,
there so that other guys
so
can
that the
talk.
other
Thank
people
you.
can talk. Thank you very much. For Julius. You're next.
Thank you. I am not sure whether to do an introduction. Yes, good afternoon. Sitting here, my name is Kabue John. I work for the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Kenya Bureau of Standards is established under the Standards Act, Cap 496 of the laws of Kenya, and we are there to support SMEs. And we do support SMEs in a number of ways. I think one of the biggest ways that we are supporting manufacturers in Kenya to be able to access products in the market is by developing standards. That is what we call product specifications. And the manufacturer can access this specification by visiting our offices, and you can get a copy of that, such that when you're doing your innovation, when you're placing your product in the market, you know what is the requirement in terms of the specification, the quality of the product. That covers two things, a number of things. One, product quality, issues of consumer safety, and also aspect of labeling that is critical for your products as you move it in the market. The other thing that we are doing to support the SMEs is in the issue of access of products into the market. And this is through what we call product certification schemes. We are running two schemes. We have a scheme called the Diamond Mark of Quality, which is a mark of excellency that you place on your product. When you place that mark on the product, then it gives a third party. It means a third party has looked at your product and they have okayed it, and this gives confidence to the manufacturer. And what we normally also what we call the standardization marks. That is the S mark, abbreviated as S mark, the one that you find in many of the commodities traded in the market. And when you have that commodity, that mark on your product, you have access to the regional market, that is the East Africa member state markets, that is the 6 of them. And I believe that now DRC that has come in place, you have access for over about 250 persons that can buy your product, million persons that can buy your product. So basically, that is in support for industry, and I believe this is also very, very important for us as SMEs to know that, so that we can move the product in the market. Sorry, I forgot to say what I do. I work for the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and I'm manager in charge of products, food department in the Quality Assurance division, where we are doing mostly is product certification, inspection, so that we can prove access to the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next. A big hand for him, please. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Victor Oluoch, and I work at CMA. CMA is the Capital Markets Authority, and what the CMA does is it's a regulator of the capital markets. And talking about the capital markets, what is the capital markets? The capital market is a market like any other. It could be a market for tomatoes, a market for bananas, but in this case, in the case of the capital markets, the commodity that's being traded is money or capital. Did I lose someone? Did I lose someone?
I think you did.
Okay, so when I say it's a market for money, what I mean is that we have people who are in need of money, almost like they would like to buy money. And then on the other side, we have people who have the money, so they sell the money. And when I talk about buying money, when you buy a commodity, you have to pay a price, right? Right? When you buy a commodity, you have to pay a price. And when you come to the capital markets, what happens is that there's this pool of people who have money which they don't need to use immediately. So what they do is they're looking for return for that money. On the other side, we have SMEs and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are in need of money. You have ideas, you want to invest that money and make more money from it. So the guy who has the money is in need of the guy who does not have the money. So when you come to the capital markets, what happens is that we almost like intermediate. So we find the guy who has the money and the guy who does not have the money, and we give them a chance to meet. So that is what we do basically. At the CMA, we are the guys who regulate that whole sector, that whole ecosystem. We have brokers, we have investment banks, we have fund managers. All these people are involved in the process of intermediating. In other words, getting people who have money to reach people who are in need of money. I hope I'm much clearer now. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, a few questions.
Yeah, so, excuse me. So what I forgot to mention is that I also sit in a committee that we are calling the Sandbox Review Committee as a member. So back in 2019, what the CMA did is that there was a realization that there's need for innovative products in the market. And this was largely driven by the inquiries that we are getting and the requests that we are getting for exemptions from the current regulatory framework. So what the CMA did is that it came up with a framework in the form of a policy guidance note to regulate the space where we do not have current regulations. So these are people who have ideas which they would like to test, but then we don't have a very clear regulatory framework on how these ideas are to be tested. So we came up with the regulatory sandbox, regulatory policy guidance note, and in the policy guidance note, what we are saying there is that if you have an idea, and this idea of course has to have an angle of either capital market deepening or broadening. So if you have an idea of that nature, then you have an opportunity to approach the CMA. You come in and say, I have this idea which I'd like to test, and then you're given a chance to test that idea for a period of a maximum of 12 months, or of course can be extended for another 12 months. But after you test that idea, then of course, you have to have test objectives. You don't just come to test without having an idea of what you'd like to see. So you test the idea. After the period for testing is over, then we see if the test objectives have been achieved or they have not. If they have, then you successfully are graduated. And graduation simply means you are allowed to roll out the product. And as you're doing that, the CMA in the background is thinking in terms of what regulatory framework do we need to put in place in order to support this idea. So when we are giving you a letter of no objection to proceed with your idea, we give you conditions. So since we don't have regulatory framework, we don't have conditions that you need to meet, we give you conditions on which you have to meet as you're rolling out your product. So once that is done, the CMA then proceeds to develop necessary regulatory framework. A good example is the crowdfunding regulation. So currently we have in place crowdfunding regulation, and this came as a result of one of the participants in the regulatory sandbox, a company called Pesesha. So Pesesha did their tests, they completed, they were successful, they were allowed to roll out, but after that we developed the regulatory framework for crowdfunding, and currently the regulations are in the process of being enacted into law. So that is the process that we follow within the regulatory framework. So you test your idea, whichever kind of idea that you have, we allow you to test it. Once successful, then we develop regulatory framework, and then it's rolled out. So that is just one. But more importantly, when you look at specifically now on the regulatory framework for crowdfunding, that is a very good opportunity for SMEs, because when you look at the regulations, they are actually geared towards SMEs, small companies trying to raise small amounts of money, and there are investors on the other side. So you guys have the idea, you want to invest, you want to make money out of it. On the other side, there's someone who has money. He does not know where to put that money. So he comes onto that kind of platform. They're normally internet-based platforms. They come onto the platform, they look for these opportunities, and you're there. And that is how you get connected to capital.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. I think as all of us will really understand that SME is a very critical component, especially in the growth of our economy. In terms of employment, I know we support a lot of persons or people and livelihoods. So from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, I think I want first of all to clarify, to bring to our attention one way that SMEs are benefiting is in case you are a manufacturer and you want to import into the country raw material or equipment that you're using for your processing. There is a requirement for every importation coming into the country that it must be inspected. However, if it's an equipment that you're going to use for your manufacturing processes, then there is the exemption of what we call the PVOC requirements, that is in terms of the payments and the inspections that are supposed to be done that causes maybe sometimes delay. And this to us is quite a support, because when you have these equipment coming in and they are not charged, then you're able to use them to set up your manufacturing processes and then do the manufacturing. The other area that we are really supporting is in the area of certification. You remember in Kenya and around the East African community states, there is what we call access of market, and there is what we call mutual recognition of marks, such that our product certification scheme that we run and products that are certified here in Kenya, they will be able to access the regional market and the local market. So what you have done for the SMEs is that we have make sure that the fee that attracts, because product certification process is very expensive in terms of the inspections that need to be carried out, in terms of the testing that needs to be done, and the whole certification process. So what we are happening is that we are giving opportunity for the manufacturers in SME that we can have 3 products. They can bring to us 3 products at a go, that they require them to be certified at an only fee of 5,800. The other manufacturers will be paying in excess of 68,000 or 63,800. So that kind of fee that is so much fair to this manufacturer, it will be able to access and to get our certification that includes testing, inspections, any advisory services at when we come to your visit, your factory. And finally, I think the other area that we have also done a lot is the issue of trainings. Training aspect, because for you to understand the requirements that are in the standards, those that are in food, food safety requirements, and such requirements, you need information or training. What KEBS is done is offering free webinars or free training to SMEs so that they can have the knowledge about standards, product, processes, and quality controls. And through these, they are able to access market. And this has been done where we have, we call SMEs together in a certain area, and then we'll give them that knowledge at no fee. We'll just gather them together, give them the knowledge, and then they can use that knowledge to manufacture their products and place it into the market. And finally, I think the other area which is support not only to the SME but even to the other manufacturer is issue of standards. You cannot place your product in the market if you don't know what are the requirements. And the requirements are found in a standard. For when you're doing product development, we have already developed standards that are available for SMEs that they can use them in order for them to improve the quality of their products so that they can have access. So I think I would say such kind of initiative are available from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me talk about that very briefly. In the unlikely event that you have a dispute with Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA has created a whole department that deals with that directly. Yeah? You are allowed to come, report to that department, and agree on the way forward. In the unlikely event that you're not convinced, you have got so many other avenues of proceeding further. But the department is running very well. So many people have come to KRA and they feel that that department is working well for them.
So what triggers you to come to use ADR as a solution? What are the triggers?
What triggers most of the time is when there are disputes. And I think it is also important to mention at this point in time that in the unlikely event that you have a complaint with Kenya Revenue Authority, you must, I want to give you this email address so that I can see so many emails coming in, because again it will come to me. Just write it down, it's important. DTD complaints, DTD for Domestic Tax Department. Did you get that? DTD complaints as one word at kra.go.ke. Please write to us, attach any documentary evidence that you have that you feel should be addressed. At the same time, I wanted to mention this because this is critical for the SMEs. SMEs are actually encouraged to take the TOT regime, turnover tax regime. We are very surprised that SMEs are not making use of that regime, but instead they have decided to go for the annual regime. If you are an SME whose turnover is not 1 million, or if your turnover is lying between 1 million to less than 50 million, we encourage you to register as your obligation turnover tax. It is charged at 1% of your gross sales. So assuming that your turnover is 1 million or 1.2 million, how much are you supposed to pay as tax to Kenya Revenue Authority? What is 1% of 1.2 million? Sorry? 12,000. Now, if you're a millionaire who can come here and somebody asks you to give government 12,000 only. Should that really be a problem to you? No, I want us to look at it as simple as it is. And let me tell you, Kenyans, this is critical. It is not taxes that are heavy. It is corruption that is killing your country. And KRA has done this to ensure that you help KRA fight corruption. If you know of anybody in this room trying to evade tax, be it an individual, be it a company, piga firimbi, I whistle. And in the likely event that whatever you've reported will really raise revenue, KRA will give you 5 million. No, just hold on, just hold on. You know, all that I say here is in the law. Did you get that? What I'm saying here is in the law. I'm not talking from a certain book, a certain story. This is legal. So, by the way, if I were you, my SME would even be that one of informing people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes? Hold on. I can see many questions. Yes. But we are very late. Hold on. I have a solution. I'm the one with the microphone. This is my SME. So, this is what I'm going to do. I know Uncle James has a question. Who else? Okay, all right. So Uncle James only. Oh, where? Okay, so those are the only 2 questions we will allow. I hope they are able to capture the questions of the other people. If not, how can we raise our questions with you, Julius? Where can we direct some of the queries that we have? And this is for, I guess, for everyone on the panel. You can give us the spaces. Who has a roving mic? So go to the lady at the back first. You'll ask a question, then James will ask a question. He'll answer, and then we'll close the panel. We have to, because I need to honor the time of our master classes that are here and the people that are waiting.
Good afternoon. My name is Maureen. And I do have a question, or maybe a clarification. Array. You talked about 2 regimes, turnover tax, and which was the other one?
The annual tax regime.
The annual tax regime. You're strongly recommending that we do go for the TOT or the annual. I think you said the TOT. So my question is, so for example, when I'm doing the business registration, at what interface do we get that information as business owners? While we are registering, is there a step-by-step process where somebody know that description you've given? Because that was the first mistake I made in one of my businesses, and definitely I was penalized.
All right, hold on, don't answer the question. I hope you've understood. Okay. Please bring the microphone here to James, and then we can ask the second question, and then we'll close.
Thank you, Amani, for giving me this opportunity. I want to just ask Kerry, you know, you've given an email address to send the complaints to, but there's an ongoing what do you want to call it? There's something that there's disquiet about the issue of assessment. If I'm assessed tax of 50 million, I am supposed to pay 25 million and then lodge a complaint. How fair is that? I think there should be a better way. If I am contesting that, it should remain contested and challenged elsewhere. And then the export guarantee that you've talked about. Credit guarantee scheme. This is information that I'm sitting in in the SME space. It is information that has largely remained caged. Where and how do you share information? Because the export guarantee is given by banks. You have extended that to the banks. The banks don't talk to people who don't pay them interest well enough. That's the truth.
All right, Julius, answer those questions. Let me say this. John of Sandbox has said he's happy to organize mini barazas, smaller barazas, with each of these guys, or whoever else you would like, for your questions to be answered more comprehensively. So you can put Sandbox to task, and at the back there, at the Sandbox booth, you can tell them what you'd like the mini barazas to be, and they will set them up together. Why don't you just answer the questions?
Thank you very much, Bwana Amani. Now you can see why I was complaining that I should have been brought by my brothers here. Nobody's asking them, but this is KRA. So let's go ahead. Let me start with the lady at the back. At the point of registration, that is when you are given an obligation. Are we together up to that point? When you are registering for what? PIN. That is the time when you are given your obligation. So at that point, you've gone to be registered for PIN. They'll ask you, because, and remember I told you it is self-assessment. Self what? Assessment. We have two regimes. Direct assessment, which the government left. We are on self-assessment. So when you come to KRA to be given a PIN, it's because you have been doing business, you've been seeing yourself doing well, but you cannot progress, you cannot do other things because they have been telling you to go with the TCC. Tunaelewana vizuri. They need a tax compliance certificate. You are doing a business with any county government, and you've noted that your turnover is 1 million up to less than 50 million. Tell them to give you turnover tax as the regime that you're comfortable with. Are we together up to that point? But if your earning is 50 million and above, then you are being encouraged to go for the annual what? Regime. Whose deadline is 30th of June. Aki ya mama nasema, mume file return, by the way, have you? Because the deadline is just about, and there will be no extension. Madam at the back, is it clear to you now? Again, what you are asking, how do you come to us to help you out, given that that mistake already took place? I've given you an email address. And by the way, I never walk alone. The manager in charge of MSMEs is with me in the house. She's recording those documents. So what have we done? We even have a desk for SMEs. Come, visit, and let's talk together. Madam Susan Jeru seated here. She's the one in charge of MSMEs. So I've told you two things. Write to that email if you have a complaint. If somebody is harassing you, I've told you where to go. Let me come to my senior. You know, in government protocol, when your senior asks, you now answer standing. Yeah, that is the government. Now, let me tell you this. All of you are online, aren't you? Are you online? And I'm talking to SMEs. Just type credit guarantee scheme. Just go to the Google, type credit guarantee scheme. Because my people suffer due to lack of knowledge. No, it's public. So let me say this, Chair, allow me not to respond to you because you're my senior. Now, let's do this. Credit guarantee scheme. How many have seen it? Wangapi? Thank you. And it's ladies. Ladies, I tell you, you this great again. It is only ladies lifting up their hands. Men, you don't have bundles or anything. Now, if you go to that page, it is saying very clearly, and let me tell you why that thing came up. When COVID came, you remember the government had to reduce the tax rates from 30% to, SMEs, jameni, hata tax amujui rates, from 30% to, and for individuals, it was up to what time? From 30 to, those who do pay as you, and you remember? Yes. But we realized that was not good enough. So Treasury, where KRA reports, came up with a committee, and yours truly was a member of the committee, and we came up with the credit guarantee scheme. They were saying that you may not be able to trust some of the SMEs. There's a lady who said there that when the time, you know when to walk away and you know when to run. Where is that lady, surely? Yeah. Now, because of that, it was said that we need to fund SMEs. We need to give them credit. But how can we get hold of them? So to reduce the risk, to reduce the what? Mbona muongee na mwakula chakula ya serikali? To reduce the what? The risks. Hii si amukulipa. Ni ya bure hiyo chakula, hiyo ya leo. Wamelipa? Ah, sawa, sawa. Now let's then come to the point. So the government identified banks. Who is here from a banking industry? DTD, Barclays, who?
Actually, Kingsley mentioned the name of the banks in the credit.
Ah, well done, well done. Kingsley, he mentioned that? Excellent. Now you see, my people, the problem in our country is a lot of social media. If you search for the right thing, if you're looking for credit, search for credit. Have you seen it? It's very clear how it is captured. And what you are expected to do is so clear. Ladies and gentlemen, please, Mani Kidogo, let me tell you something which is so critical. Because you know Kenyans thrive on hearsay. I want to give you a reason as to why as KRA we feel pained when you people are crying using our names. Kenya Revenue Authority's mandate is very clear, very, very clear. We assess and collect on behalf of government. What you've not told us to do, and we would be so happy to do if you are to tell us you want us to do, to even find out how government and county government are spending the money. That is not our mandate. But if you gave us, let me explain to you why I've told you that story. I left my house in Kajiado at 8:20. At Mulolongo, I took that new road. It took me 15 minutes from Mulolongo to Westlands. 15 minutes. If Kenyans can allow people to steal their billions and they say hallelujah, and we ask you to pay 10,000 and you say no, you are from a special planet. Kenyans, we must take our mandate seriously and know that KRA's mandate is up to this point. If you want to give us a mandate of even supervising how they're being used, we are too willing. But God bless you people. Now clap for me now at least. Even if I go, I know you have the point.
Before the panel leaves, we have some gifts for you. But I'm also going to give you an opportunity to tell us how do we reach. So, Bwana Julius has said, Victor, tell us how do we reach.
votieno@cma.or.ke.
votieno@cma.or.ke. And Bwana Kabwe?
Kabue John at kebs.org. Kabue, K-A-B-U-E-J, at kebs.org.
Okay, Kabwe John at kebs.org. All right, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You give us an email address. Okay, sorry, for Julius, I'm not discriminating. Julius, please give us an email address. The mic is there.
Oh, sorry.
The red one.
Julius.yega@kra.go.ke.
Julius.yega, Yega,
Yes.
at kra.go.ke.
.go.ke. My phone number is also open. You get it online. Call anytime.
All right, thank you very much. All right, please stand and get a little gift that we have for you. You can take a picture.
Sorry, you're in trouble. It's okay. Could it be more than 20,000, this thing, I declare?
I don't think so. I think But Sandbox will let us know. Please stand.
Oh.
Please, we want to take